Welcome to the next installment of Lord Unzipped. I'm your host, The Skipper, and this week we have Will.
Yay! Yay, Will! I have a fan!
Hopefully more than one.
Well, it's over in the corner. It usually oscillates.
Oh.
But you gotta plug it in.
Oh. So, yet again, for the fourth time in a row, Christopher is not here. So we're asking one of his questions in his absence.
Shake head in derision.
So, in regards to Blacklisted, did you accomplish your goals? And, because that's a shitty question, what are the biggest similarities and differences between Blacklisted and the entire back catalog of Lord's music?
God damn.
Oh, that just got spicy.
What was the first question
The
again?
first question is, what were your goals?
Oh. I'm not sure if I even had any goals, but I'm sure if I had some, I probably didn't accomplish them. Really don't have a whole lot of motivation. But I will say that really the only, I guess, driving force I had this time around was to, I don't know, we had been playing the Awake material for more or less a year or so, you know, and it was a lot more progressive and experimental, and we were really kind of trying to expand and do a bunch of different things with it, but after playing so many shows, a lot of that stuff doesn't really lend itself to live, you know, so it's like you end up playing with, you know, in these situations and you're playing these really kind of expansive songs and, you know, you're trying not to fuck it up and whatever, and you're kind of like, at some point it's awesome and you really love what you've done, but at some point you just want to fucking rock. Yeah, as corny as that is, you just want to play some really aggressive shit and get back that gritty feeling that you want again. And I think what came naturally to us after Awake was said and done was just to write the heaviest shit that we've written so far under the Lord catalog. As far as how that compares to the Lord catalog, I think it's been a constant evolution for anybody who's actually paid attention. I mean, like I said in other interviews, we've got lumped in with the whole sludge doom thing, because that was the first thing that really took us in, and we really, you know, we're thankful for that. That's awesome that we found an audience there. But to be honest, like, and I think to be honest as a musician and as an artist, we have to be honest with ourselves and what we listen to and what our tastes really are. And just to do sludge and doom for the rest of our career just because that's what people want to hear, I think would be dishonest to ourselves. So, to be honest, I mean, I listen to everything from Bolt Thrower to fucking Sisters of Mercy to Johnny Cash to Slayer. I mean, I'm all over the place. And
Whoa. It's,
Slayer!
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So, I think, to be honest, as an artist, I think that's really, that's what we would have to do, and to incorporate things like black metal, death metal, you know, thrash. I mean, that's where we come from. I mean, I think when the whole Bay Area thrash thing was taken off, I was maybe 17 or so, and I was kind of a little late to that. I wasn't old enough to go to shows or any of that shit, but I loved Slayer, I loved Testament and Exodus and all that kind of stuff. For me, it was like, I remember seeing the videos on Headbangers Ball, like, the faster, the nastier, the fucking better, and to me, that led straight into death metal. So I have to be honest when I say I discovered that stuff before I ever discovered doom. You know, I mean, that was what was available to me. I loved Death and Obituary and Entombed, and, you know, that's what I saw. You know, and like I said, I wasn't old enough to go to shows yet. And by the time I was, that scene had kind of been dead and gone, and fucking nu metal took over. So you're forced to go underground, you know, and really dig for more shit. And that's where I discovered hardcore punk, and, you know, I got into doom right there, 'cause that's right around the time I found Down and Corrosion of Conformity and I Hate God and Grief and Buzz Oven, and, you know, you kind of go down that rabbit hole, you know, and you get into all that shit and all that stuff. To a point, you're accumulating all that, and it kind of funnels into your influences and automatically should come out in your writing, because that's who you are. That's what naturally comes out for you. I think anything else is contrived. So, to me, what we've done on Blacklisted is just, it's an evolution of where the band was naturally heading, And with these members that we have now, I think it's just all the more apparent that this is who we are. You know, I don't think we're pretending to be anything else, and people from the outside will probably look at it that way and go, well, they're trying to be black metal, they're writing this or whatever, or they're trying to be death metal now. Like, it's always been there. We've always had death growls in our shit, and we've always had that stuff in there. Anybody who says otherwise just wasn't paying attention, or you like one record out of the fucking, you know, 3 and however many EPs we've done. You know, it's, or I don't know. That's what my head is at as far as that's concerned. I don't know if that answered your question at all.
All right, up for the next question will come from myself. Let's see here. For the Great Will.
Wait, Will. Hey, wait, Will.
Will, on this album, you seem to draw from influences not found on previous Lord releases. Was this a conscious decision, and what do you feel it adds to Lord's catalog? I feel like this is very similar to what was just asked.
I mean, I can piggyback off of what I had said before. As far as was it a conscious decision, the only decision I was really conscious of, as far as like I knew I was setting out to do a certain thing, is I wanted to write more aggressive material on this release. Just because I felt like I wanted to write material that would translate live really well. As far as trying to push the band in any certain direction, no. I think it was just a matter of like, let me throw this riff out there, see how the guys react to it. Knowing everybody's backgrounds, you know, Todd and you guys coming from, you know, grindcore and, you know, all different kinds of shit, and having death metal influences. For me, it was a very, you know, especially with Chris coming from the thrash death background as well, it was very easy, and I wasn't intimidated by like, oh, let me throw this riff out there, and, you know, it sounds like something that would have been on an incantation record, like, you know, like these guys are going to shoot it down. Like, no, it was very like, okay, let's throw this out there and let's make a song. And the songs this time around seemed to come so much quicker than they had with Awake. I think Awake, there was a lot of writing and rewriting, and we were trying to go in a certain direction. Everybody was kind of, the lineup was new. I think this time the lineup has gelled. Everybody has found their comfort zone, and there's certain styles that we just do really well that will be shown on this record that a lot of people might not have either didn't think we were capable of doing, or didn't think we were, just basically weren't aware that we can do this kind of stuff, or should.
Sounds good to me. Todd? How are you going to go? We have
if I may jump in, Todd, if you don't mind. Mine is very similar yet again. Stealth questions, sneaking it in. So, you know, Lord has been a band for over a decade now, correct?
Mm-hmm. 2005.
And there was only one other point in time, and it was very short-lived, that there was a second guitar player in the band. That's when Mike Meeks was in the band.
Yep.
And there's one release, the split with Fire Faithful, that he's on. Yep. So since Todd has joined, what has changed for you in the way that you're writing riffs? Like, is it completely the same, you just write what comes to you, or do you write, like, now that Todd's here and he can add some sick part to what I'm doing, has that expanded it? You know, how has that dynamic impacted the writing process, and as far as, you know, you spend a lot of time alone writing the riffs,
I do.
You know, and how is bringing that now with the second guitarist, when you've predominantly been the sole guitar player in Lord for over a decade, what's awesome, what's challenging, what's changed?
I think a little bit of both, actually. When Mike was in the band, it was very much a different kind of chemistry. Mike's a phenomenal guitar player. He was great at what he did, but at the same time, I will never take that away from him. But when he came into Lord, he wanted to take Lord in a different direction that I didn't necessarily feel comfortable with. It was what he wanted to do, and we never were in the band long enough to have a chemistry together. So it was kind of like, okay, here's Mike's riffs, and then I came up with a riff here or two, because he came in and he just had a shit ton of material. So it was, it didn't last long. You know, for whatever reason, he decided he wasn't necessarily happy with the situation creatively and decided to leave. And we went without a second guitarist for years. This time around, having Todd in the band, it's way more natural. We're friends. I respect him as a musician. I think everything he brings to the table is fucking killer. You know, 9 times out of 10 when I write, I still write very much. You know, I almost come to practice 9 times out of 10 with a full song almost complete. But within those parts, I'm always very open to any idea that he may have, that layers or whatever that I might not have heard, or there's riffs that I leave it open enough or basic enough so he can bring parts in, and vice versa. I mean, there's, you know, on this record, he brought in a full song, and I was all about it. You know, I didn't add anything to it but 2 solos. You know, he wrote the entire piece. You know, the same thing with Chris's part. That was Chris, and Todd wrote another part too. I helped with the arrangement on that, but to me it was let them bring their influences in and see how that affects Lord and where that pushes the band in a direction that we're all comfortable with. And I don't want to stifle anybody's writing. I feel the way to kind of keep everybody happy. You know, you want to be creatively happy, but at the same time, you got to be fair to everybody else in the band as well. They have to be happy. And I really think that this time around, it's been probably, out of every record we've ever done, it's been the most collaborative, the most cohesive. I think what we did on Awake was a stepping stone to what we're doing on Blacklisted. Awake was kind of getting to know each other, trusting each other, and like, okay, well, I can see where this guy's coming from in his writing, and I feel comfortable using that. It's not just I want him to play bass or I want him to play guitar and I don't want him to think or whatever. You know, I'm very open to their ideas, and it's even Skip, like everything that Skip brings to the table. If it's a rhythm I didn't necessarily hear when I wrote it, and he changes it and twists it in another way, that's perfect. You know, I don't want everything to just be my vision. It gets stale. You know, I was already, like you said, I was the only guitarist for 10 years, so it's like battling, just doing that and trying to stay fresh and not repeating yourself was always a challenge. And it makes it that much easier having 4 other people to bounce ideas off of that are, you know, creative and inspired and want to be in the band and don't have their own agendas or whatever else they're trying to push outside of that. There's not that fear like, oh, if I don't, you know, if he's not happy, he's going to leave tomorrow and go do this other thing. Like, so I have to like bend to that. It's like, no, you actually appreciate them for what they're doing, and what they bring to the table is going to only make your playing in your band better. So, Todd.
The last question here, Todd. What was it about his favorite guitar?
We can talk gear, man. Fucking nerd out.
So,
Favorite
all right,
lyric?
Will, how was this
Todd.
one? Yeah.
Todd.
You want to buy that Sun
Connect.
Cab?
Yes, I do. Not right now, though. I'm kind of broke, but yeah,
Hey.
I'll get around to it.
Right on.
Good question. Good question.
All right, this wraps up this episode of Lord Unzipped,
Check in next week.
where hopefully our bass player shows up. Thanks for tuning in.
Don't hold your breath.
It's like Greg.